You're overthinking it, Julia said, her laugh sharp and short. You've always been the weak one between us. I stirred my tea. Earl Grey, no sugar. I'd made it exactly how she liked, even though she'd never once asked how I liked mine. She was still smiling when she said it, legs crossed, head tilted. The corner of her lip lifted like it wasn't even worth taking back. I mean that in the best way. She added quickly. You're sensitive, empathetic. It's not a flaw. Is that what you think weakness is? I asked. Oh. Come on, she said, flicking her wrist. Don't get moody. You know what I mean. I don't think I do, Julia said, her cup down, leaned in. You've always been the heart, the kind soul. I'm the one who pushes. You hold space, I fill it. That's why we work, yin and yang. I looked at her, really looked. The gold hoops, the perfect lip liner, the confidence that clung to her like perfume, strong, sweet, suffocating. You know Eric says the same thing about us, she continued. He says I balance you out. He says that, I asked, even though I already knew the answer. Of course. I mean, he loves you, obviously, but he gets it. You can be delicate. He worries about you. She was digging a hole and couldn't stop. Or wouldn't. I've built a business from nothing, I said quietly. Delicately, Julia raised both hands. Jesus, I'm not attacking you, no. You're just laughing. That's not fair, isn't it? A pause. Then? Why are you being so sensitive? I smiled, just my mouth, not my eyes. Because I'm the weak one, Julia exhaled hard and leaned back into the couch. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that, I said. You just didn't expect me to hear it. She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw something flicker behind her eyes. Not regret, calculation, the silence. Stretched, she broke it. You know what I think. I think you're tired. You've been carrying too much. The business, the house. Eric, it's a lot, and when people get tired, they get paranoid. You think I'm paranoid? I think you're overreacting. To your words, to everything, she snapped. Then softened immediately. Look, I know you. You're strong in your own way. But you take things personally, always have. I tilted my head. I wonder why that is. You're doing it again. I know. I'm trying to talk to you like a friend. No, I said, still calm. You're talking to me like someone you think won't push back. Julia blinked. I stood up slowly. Let me walk you out. You're kicking me out. I'm ending the conversation. She rose reluctantly, picked up her bag. Fine. But this is weird. Weird, echoed. Yes, at the door. She paused. You know, I'm just honest. I don't sugarcoat. That's who I am. People either love it or hate it. Maybe they just endure it. She smiled again. But it didn't touch her eyes. I still love you, even if you're mad. I'm not mad, I said. Her eyes searched mine. Really? No, I said. Just awake. She left without another word. I closed the door, locked it, and stood there for a moment, breathing in the quiet dot in the distance. The dishwasher clicked into rinse. The scent of lemon soap lingered in the air. I walked back into the kitchen and sat at the table, picking up my tea. It had gone cold. Delicate. I whispered. The word sat there on my tongue like a stone. I reached for my phone, opened our group thread. Me, Julia, Eric. It isn't laughing memes. A few inside jokes, last week's lunch photos, nothing sharp, nothing true. Then I scrolled up. Months of shared details, Julia's work complaints, Eric's late meetings, my updates about funding rounds and timelines. The three of us, woven tight. I set the phone down, weak, paranoid, sensitive, overreacting. A quiet kind of script, written one sentence at a time. And I'd said my lines perfectly for years. I went upstairs. Eric's office door was half open. His laptop sat on the desk, humming. His planner lay open, neat as always, color-coded, predictable. I glanced at the date. To months ago. Lunch, J. Last month. Drive to Oakland, J. Last week, review proposal, J. Not Julia. Just J. Subtle, assumed. I flipped the planner shut and stood still. In the reflection of the office window, I caught my own face, blank, focused, calm. I remembered something Julia had once told me. Back in college, drunk and smug, you don't know how much power you give away just by being polite. At the time, I'd laughed. Thought it was clever. Now I just breathed, not mad. Just awake. You didn't put your name on it. Camille looked up from the old press release, her brow already creasing. Julia presented this alone. She said it was cleaner that way. I replied. One face to the media. Fewer complications. You designed the prototype, didn't you? I built it in our garage. Camille blinked, and she just what? Took it to pitch night and said thank you with a bottle of wine. She called me her secret weapon. I said we both win in the end. Camille tossed the page back on the table. You let her. I did. She gave me that look again, the one people reserve for women they don't understand. I'd learned to live with it. I can speak if you want, Julia said. You always get nervous with investors. I'm not nervous, I told her. She smirked. You always say that. and then you go quiet when they ask you hard questions. I just don't perform exactly, she said. That's why it works better if I take the lead, she said it kindly, like a favor. Like stepping in was a gift, not a strategy. So I nodded. Fine, go ahead. She kissed my cheek before the meeting. Teamwork, baby. Afterward, they shook her hand and asked for her card. I took notes in silence. Why don't you apply for the directorship? Eric had asked, leaning on the kitchen counter. I'm not sure I want it, I said. He raised an eyebrow. You've been doing the job unofficially for months. No. Then what's the hesitation? I rinsed a bowl. It's political, Julia. She'd throw a fit. He finished. Yeah, probably. I looked over my shoulder. You think I should? He shrugged. It's your call. But honestly, she's better at the outward-facing stuff. You're the heart, she's the mouth. I turned off the tap. You mean she's louder, she's more comfortable being aggressive, that's all I'm saying, and that was always how it went. They didn't stop me, they didn't have to. They just nudged. You still remember the Grant thing? Julia laughed. God, that was years ago. I was just thinking about it. I mean, it was your idea. Sure. But we wouldn't have gotten it without my pitch, you know that, right? You edited my draft. I said. I polished it. She corrected. There's a difference. You've always had raw material. You just needed someone to shape it. I sipped my wine. She went on. That's what makes us such a good team. I take the rough stuff and make it shine. It's what I do. I'm the finisher. I didn't answer. Julia leaned forward. Come on, you know it's true. I'm not sure I want to finish things your way anymore. She blinked. What does that mean? Nothing, I said. Forget it. You could have been anything, my mother once told me. But you always picked the safe road. I picked the roads I was allowed to walk, I said. You let people push you off them. That's different, don't take it personally. Eric said, turning off the bedroom light. She said I couldn't lead. She didn't say it like that. She implied it. Eric sighed into the pillow. Julius blunt. You know how she is. That doesn't make it right, no. He agreed. But you're taking it to heart. I stared at the ceiling. I mean, look at you. You built the foundation of everything we have. Then why doesn't it feel like mine? He didn't answer. We should merge, Julia said over coffee. One site, one umbrella, split the equity. I hesitated. That's a big shift. You don't want to compete, do you? I'm not trying to compete. Then let's collaborate. What would the structure look like? She grinned. You build it, I'll sell it, just like always. And who presents it? Julia paused. You're still hung up on that. Huh? I'm not hung up, you kind of are. I set my mug down. You know, Julia, you've said a lot of things to me over the years, yeah. But I don't think you've ever said thank you. She laughed. Don't be dramatic, I'm not. I'm just realizing it. Her face changed. You're in a mood today. No, I said. I'm in a mirror. You deserve more, Camille said, pushing the old folders across my desk. You always have. I looked at the names I'd helped build, the clients Julia kept. The credit she claimed. It's not just about credit, I said. No. It's about the lie that strength the silence. I closed the folder. I'm not silent anymore. It was wedged under a stack of insurance binders, stiff and sealed, cream envelope, thick stock. My name in Julia's handwriting. No stamp, no return address. Just to be opened if we're ever in dispute scrawled on the back. I should have put it back instead. I opened it. You're looking at something you weren't supposed to see, Eric said. Leaning in the doorway, arms crossed. I'm looking at something that had my name on it, I replied. That's not what I meant. It's dated 8 months ago. Eric sighed. It was precautionary. Why would Julia write a letter about me needing to forfeit IP if things turned adversarial? Because you're listed on everything, you know that. I looked up. So you knew about this. She told me she was drafting it. And you didn't think that was worth mentioning. He came closer. It was just her covering bases. You know how she is aggressive, overly thorough. I held the letter up. She listed the company name we started together. And she wrote that I would voluntarily remove myself if conflict arose. And you read this and said what? He hesitated. I said she was being dramatic. But you kept the letter. I didn't think she'd actually use it. It was just lawyer stuff. Greg's idea. Probably. She copied you on the email. I didn't open it. You just filed it. Eric's jaw clenched. What do you want me to say? I want you to say why she's creating a paper trail to cut me out of my own work. It doesn't mean she was going to do it, you. Don't draft documents like this unless you already plan to. He sat on the edge of the desk. Look, you and Julia have had tension for a while now. You've changed, you're more sharp. She probably felt that shift and panicked. She wrote that I'm emotionally unsuited for high-stakes leadership. Eric looked away. She wrote that I have a history of instability under pressure. It's legal language, he muttered. Is it true? He didn't answer later after he went for his run. I read it again. The letter was formal, but smug. as if she imagined herself being congratulated for her restraint. Greg Watson, her attorney, was CCD. The tone was theirs, clinical, anticipatory. Paragraph 3 listed conditions under which I'd agree to dissolve my equity. Paragraph 5 included language about preserving goodwill during transition. I flipped it over. Nothing on the back now. Just wait, just silence. The call was short. Is this urgent? The receptionist asked. Yes. Who referred you? No one. We can do a consult Thursday at noon. That's fine. Name of opposing party. Julia Morales. There was a pause, then typing. I'll pass it to Miss DeWitt, thank you. You opened it? Julia asked over the phone that evening. Voice syrup sweet. I did. A beat. Then, that was a draft, not meant to be sent. It was signed. Well, yes, but only in case something happened. It's standard. Standard for what? Come on, she said. You've been pulling away for months. You've frozen me out of to decisions, ghosted me. On the hiring call, what was I supposed to think? You drafted a legal agreement behind my back. It wasn't behind your back. It was a hypothetical. Greg said we should prepare for anything, and I agreed. That's not betrayal, that's foresight. Foresight, she exhaled. I should have told you, I admit that. But honestly, you've been impossible to reach lately, emotionally. I mean, I wonder why. Don't play this like you're some victim, she snapped. I'm not. Good. Because I've done nothing to hurt you. You wrote that I'm weak. I wrote that you're volatile under pressure. And right now, you're proving my point. I'm proving I read. A silence. Then Julia said, softer, you don't want to ruin what we've built. I didn't answer. I'm willing to let this go. She continued. No liars, no drama. Let's just breathe and move past it. I'm sure you are, meaning I already made a call. Julia's voice flattened. You're overreacting. I don't think I am. You'll regret this. No, I said. I think I've regretted enough already. I logged in to check last quarter's reconciliations, I said, clicking the trackpad. The totals didn't match the reports I sent to Julia. Eric leaned against the doorway of my office, arms crossed. Maybe the platform glitched. QuickBooks doesn't glitch by $213,000. He paused. Could be a banking sync error. It wasn't. The transfers were manual. His jaw tightened. Then maybe Julia made a call without looping you in. 5 calls, spread over 3 months. To an account under the name Gem Strategies. He frowned. That's her consulting firm. It's an S-corp, newly registered. Guess who signed as financial officer? He didn't answer. I turned the screen toward him. Your name's on the documents. He looked at the floor. She needed help setting up the structure. I didn't know she'd. Eric. He looked up. You knew. I knew it was temporary, he said. She said she'd reimburse. Reimburse from what? She took money from a company she doesn't fully own. She said you were getting difficult. I was asking questions. She said you were paranoid. That you were, what's the word she used, flailing. And you agreed. I didn't fight it. No. I said. You didn't. I did what I had to do. Julia said over the phone, unbothered. Cash flow was tight. You froze that vendor agreement. Remember, I paused it. That wasn't a green light to move funds. I moved funds to protect our runway into your shell company. I put my name on it because you weren't responsive. Asked for approvals. You went silent. I didn't approve a single withdrawal. You didn't disapprove. Either. I laughed. You really think silence is consent? In this case, it's complicity. You were on every shared doc. Greg confirmed we were clear legally. Morally. That's a luxury. Eric came home late. I was waiting in the living room, ledger printed and highlighted. You left a paper trail. I said as he walked in. He dropped his keys. I didn't think you'd check. That's the problem, I said. You didn't think I'd look at all. He rubbed his eyes. It was Julia's idea. You signed off. She made it sound clean. She made it sound easy. He dropped onto the couch. She said you were stepping back. I never stepped back. I just stopped letting her talk over me. He didn't respond. She manipulated. You? He shook his head. No. I went along with it. Why? He exhaled. Because she made me feel useful, needed. You always handled everything. And that made you resent me. No, he said. It made me feel replaceable. So you helped replace me. He didn't argue. I told you once, Julia said the next morning on Zoom, voice level. That strength means knowing when to lead and when to step aside. You didn't ask me to step aside. You just moved money. I safeguarded the company. You safeguarded your control. She leaned back. You want to fight? Fine. But we both know you're not built for war. I smiled. You've mistaken patience for fear. I've seen what you do under pressure. You disappear. You've seen what I let you see. You're making this personal. It was personal the moment you forged my signature on the revised equity agreement. She blinked. I spoke to the bank. Julia's voice sharpened. You're bluffing. I'm not, I said, and neither is Marla DeWitt. Another pause. You called a liar. Yes, you're making a mistake. No, I said, you did. I'm just documenting it. Eric stood at the kitchen counter, scrolling through his phone. She's furious, he said. She should be. She'll turn this into a war. She already did. He looked at me. You're not scared, I'm awake. He set the phone down. If she goes down, she'll drag me with her. She already has. At night, I opened the ledger. One last time. I labeled every line they touched, highlighted every discrepancy. I cross-referenced each withdrawal with vendor invoices. By midnight, the betrayal looked almost beautiful, efficient, precise, surgical. Almost admirable. I booked your room at the W, I said, setting Julia's tea in front of her. Downtown. Close to the venue. You're a lifesaver, she murmured, not looking up from her laptop. Did you include the upgraded Wi-Fi? Of course, she smiled. What would I do without you? I smiled back. I wonder, you've been quiet lately, Camille said, pouring wine into her glass. Not in a bad way, just still. I've been focused on what? Tidying up some things. She studied me. You're wearing lipstick. I wear lipstick. You wear tinted balm. That's different. I took a sip. Does it bother you? No, she said slowly. Just feels like something's shifting. Marla DeWitt's office smelled like ink and old wood. She wore navy, no jewelry. She didn't smile. You read the full operating agreement? She asked. Yes, and you have documented proof of the withdrawals. Yes, with dates, amounts, and routing destinations. She tapped her pen. Was the board notified? There was no board, just the three of us, Eric, Julia, and me. Marla nodded once. And you didn't authorize any of the transfers? I didn't even know they happened. She opened a thin folder. You'll need to sign a declaration. I'll file it with the notice of breach. I nodded. I assume you're prepared for this to get personal. It already is. Here's your cortado, I said, setting the mug by Eric's keyboard. Oat milk, no foam. He glanced over, surprised. Thanks. I sat on the arm of the couch and watched him scroll. Busy? Just payroll. How's Julia? He blinked. What do you mean? She seemed tired when we spoke. Must be the prep for this conference. Eric shrugged. She's fine. Same as always. I nodded. Good. He hesitated. You okay? Of course, I said. Why wouldn't I be? At night, after you slept. I worked. Tax codes. Capital. Contributions. Fraud triggers. Case law. I read everything twice. I kept a spreadsheet. Then a second one with only facts I could swear to in court. I practiced saying them out loud. Calm. Simple. Admissible. Marla called me the third evening. We'll start with a formal letter to counsel. That gives them room to respond before we escalate. Do we expect them to? They'll respond. Whether they cooperate is another matter. Let's file it. Done. You coming to Mom's on Sunday? Camille asked, biting into her apple. Not sure yet. She'll guilt you if you don't. I can take it. Camille leaned her elbows on the counter. You're in one of those modes. What mode? The one where you're 5 steps ahead and no one knows what you're planning. I folded a dish towel. You always did read me too well. She narrowed her eyes. So what is it? Work, Eric. Nothing I can't handle. That's not what I asked, I know. I packed the promo cards. I told Julia over the phone. And the updated deck is in the drive. You are a machine, she said. Seriously, I owe you? You. Do, she laughed. You sound so serious. Just tired. Get some rest when I get back. We'll sit down and remap the queue for rollout. Maybe bring Eric in to smooth the numbers. Maybe. Hey, she added, I know things have been weird, but I trust you. You shouldn't. I said softly. What? Nothing. Safe flight. The morning she left, I watched her car pull away. I stood by the window, holding my coffee, with both hands. Then I walked to the printer, pulled out the fresh copies of the filing, and slipped them into a leather folder. Weakness looks like silence until it moves. Marla slid the file across the table without a word. Is that the summary? I asked. No. That's just the receipts. I opened the folder. Each page was time-stamped, signed, or screen captured. You got all this in a week. No, she said. You did. I just organized it. Eric used your login on February 12th. She continued. You were on a flight to Denver. He said he needed to access the forecast model. He duplicated the ledger and renamed the file client_G hosting draft final. Then transferred $23,000 to Julia's holding account. I looked up. He renamed it final. They weren't subtle, just fast. Did you check the user logs on their cloud account? Marla asked. Yes, Julia uploaded the forged doc with my digital signature on March 8th. Marla marked the date. And what did the original say? That I maintained 49% equity. In her version? 31, no advisory. Rights, she blinked. That's bold. They assumed I wouldn't notice. They assumed wrong. I know it's early, I said. But based on what we have, do we have a case? Marla tilted her head. We have the case, especially if we file in state court. Misappropriation, conversion, breach of fiduciary duty, take your pick. Will it hold? It'll slam. Eric was in the kitchen, typing with one hand, drinking with the other. You need anything? I asked. He looked up, startled. No. Just catching up on accounts. Which ones? Vendor invoices. Whose vendors? He set the mug down. What's with the questions lately? Just curious. You've never cared about the details before. I care now. He frowned. What changed? I smiled. I started reading the receipts. You sure you want to include the Slack transcripts? Marla asked. Yes, some of them read. Personal. I want everything admissible. Marla flipped through the stack. Let her tire herself out. She'll sign whatever we put in front of her. That one's a favorite. I was in the next room when he typed that. I got your email, Julia said flatly on the call. Which one? The spreadsheet. You'll need to be more specific. Don't be cute. Was something unclear? You really think that's a smoking gun? I don't think, I said. I verify you were always a quiet one. Quiet doesn't mean blind. Greg says none of it will hold. Then you have nothing to worry about. Where did you get the doc with my signature? I asked Eric, laying it on the dining table. He froze. What is that? You tell me. That's not the version we filed. It's the one Julia sent the bank. I didn't know that. You signed off on the memo. Page 6. He scanned it. I thought it was just a summary. You signed without reading. His voice dropped. I trusted her. You didn't trust me. He looked at the paper. She said you cave. She was wrong. I've seen sloppier thefts, Marla said, packing the documents into a binder. But never one this self-satisfied. They thought they were smart. No, she said. They thought you weren't. By midnight, I had every file indexed and cross-referenced. Emails, edits, transfers, lies, everything in order. Everything seen. I stood in front of the mirror and sprayed the perfume she once said made me smell expensive. One spritz on my neck. One on my wrist. I didn't blot. Marla was already at the courthouse steps when I arrived. She handed me the folder without speaking. Are they ready? I asked. They'll never be ready, she said. But we are inside. The clerk barely looked at me. Plaintiff's name. I gave it. Defendant, Julia Morales. Eric Langston. She flipped through the folder. Verified complaint, attachments, civil case cover sheet, declaration. Her fingers moved with indifference until she reached the signature page. You filed pro per? She asked. No, Marla said, stepping forward. She's represented. The clerk nodded and lifted the stamp. One clean, hard sound. The ink bled slightly. The seal didn't. Do you want a receipt? She asked. Yes, I said, in a copy. Outside, the air was sharp. They'll be served by end of day, Marla said. We already filed proof of service notice electronically. I watched a pigeon scatter near the bench. You want to sit a minute? She asked. No, I said. I want to walk, so that's it. Camille asked later that evening. That's it, I said. You sued your husband and your best friend before breakfast. Filed. She whistled. Cold. No. I said. Clear. Eric came home at 6. Set his bag down like nothing had changed. I got your message, he said, and you filed. I did. He ran a hand through his hair. What do you want me to say? That you read it. He hesitated. Some of it. It's only 26 pages. I couldn't finish because it's untrue? Because it's true, he said quietly. You okay? Marla asked on the phone that night. I think so. No shaking. No. No regrets. Not one. Good, she said. That's how you know it's the right war. Julia didn't call that night. Not a word. Silence is loud when it's planned. The next morning, I made my coffee slow. Same mug, same spoon. But everything tasted different. She opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The process server held the envelope steady. Are you Julia Morales? Yes, she said automatically. Still smiling. This is for you. She took it. Read the label. Didn't blink. Have a good day, ma'am. The door clicked shut behind him. She called that night. No greeting. Just, you served me at my office, yes? You couldn't have talked to me first. I did. You lied. There was a pause. This will ruin everything. I know. I mean for both of us. I know. You don't care? I care very much, I said. That's why I did it. I didn't expect this from you. You expected silence. I expected loyalty. You earned neither. I never stole from you, she said sharply. You moved funds without my consent. We were co-owners, not of the accounts you routed them to. Her tone shifted. This can still be fixed. No, we dissolve the LLC, split what's left. You walk away with clean hands, and you walk away with a lighter penalty. She didn't answer. I get it, she said. You're angry. No. I replied, I'm alert. You've always been so emotional. I'm not emotional now. Then what is this, revenge? This is accountability. Same thing. No, I said. One feels good, the other holds weight. You blindsided me, she said. I watched you do that for a year. I was trying to protect our work. You forged my signature. That was Greg's suggestion. You wrote the memo. You wouldn't respond. I was reading everything, I said. You mistook quiet for surrender. You realize if this hits the press, it's already filed, it's public record. She laughed just once. You're colder than I thought. No, I said. I'm just done being warm where it burns. Eric's panicking, she said finally. He should. He says you threatened to subpoena the Slack transcripts. I didn't threaten, I prepared. She exhaled. You're serious? I've never been more. There was a long silence, then she asked, how long have you been planning this? Since you called me weak. That was a joke. It wasn't, I said. And even if it was, your joke became my proof. You'll destroy your reputation too, she warned. I built it, I can rebuild it. You'll lose friends. They were never friends. You'll lose money. I've already lost more than you know. I was your friend, she said quietly. You were my mirror. That's not fair, no, I said. But it's true. She didn't hang up, just went silent. So I did too. Eventually, the line went dead. I placed the phone down, folded the papers, closed the file. I had nothing left to say. State your name, please, the bailiff said. I stood. Clara Lynn, occupation, co-founder and managing partner of L&CO Design Collective. Julia didn't look up. Eric was already chewing his cheek. Ms. Lynn, said Judge Patel. You're under oath. Do you understand? Yes? Your Honor, Marla rose beside me. We'd like to begin with the timeline of financial discrepancies. Judge Patel nodded. Proceed. I spoke plainly. Between March 14th and June 2nd, 5 wire transfers were initiated to an account owned by Gem Strategies, totaling to $113,800. Were you notified? No. Were you consulted? No. Who approved the transfers? Eric Langston. Eric shifted. And the owner of Gem Strategies? Julia Morales. Judge Patel made a note but didn't glance up. Julia's attorney rose. Ms. Lynn, you claim no knowledge of these funds being redirected. But you had access to the company ledger, correct? I did. Then why didn't you catch the transaction sooner? I trusted them. Julia flinched. Is it possible you gave verbal consent? No. Did you ever discuss those amounts? No. He approached the exhibit screen. Can you explain the Slack message from April 19th? Where you typed I'm fine with it as long as it's clean. I was responding to a proposal about subcontractor rates, but it's ambiguous, isn't it? No. The document that followed makes it clear. He turned. So everyone else misread your meaning? No, I said. Only the people who benefited from pretending to. Eric's lawyer asked him to stand. Did you knowingly authorize transfers without Clara's consent? Yes? Or no? He swallowed. Yes. Gas rippled. Judge Patel raised a hand. Why? Eric glanced at Julia, then down at his hands. Because Julia said Clara would overreact. Did you believe that? He hesitated. I didn't want to fight. So you stole to avoid conflict? I didn't think of it as stealing. What would you call it now? Eric's voice dropped. Wrong. Julia took the stand with her usual poise, blazer perfect, voice smooth. Clara was disengaged, she said. I took initiative. Did you forge any documents? No. Did you direct Eric to move funds? We discussed reallocations. Were you aware she hadn't approved them? She didn't disapprove either. Marla stood. Permission and silence are not the same. Julia's lip twitched. Clara had gone silent on us. Someone had to make decisions. Did you tell the bank she held minority equity? Yes. Was that true at the time? It was her belief. Your belief. Or the documents you doctored? Objection. Overruled. Julia didn't answer. Back on the stand. I kept my voice steady. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a coordinated effort to move assets out of my reach. Why didn't you confront them sooner? The judge asked. Because I was building the case. Why file civil instead of criminal? I didn't want to destroy them. Julia looked up. I just wanted the truth to exist in a room where it couldn't be rewritten. Marla rested her hand lightly on mine as we waited. The gallery was silent. Rain ticked softly against the windows. Judge Patel cleared his throat. I've reviewed the financial records, communications, and testimony. The evidence shows deliberate misrepresentation, breach of fiduciary duty, and financial misconduct. Judgment for the plaintiff. He set the pen down. Damages to be determined in the next phase. He nodded once. Court adjourned. Eric slumped. Julia stood too fast. Neither looked at me. I didn't need them to. All rise. The room stood. Judge Patel adjusted his glasses, flipped one final page, and looked directly at me. In the matter of Lynn v. Morales and Langston, the court finds the defendants liable for breach of contract, conversion, and fiduciary misconduct. No one moved. The plaintiff is awarded for $186,300 in damages, plus legal fees and costs. Julia shifted in her chair. Eric exhaled hard, like he hadn't taken a full breath all day. Let the record reflect, Judge Patel continued, that the conduct displayed in this case was calculated and, frankly, Arrogant, Ms. Lin, your restraint throughout these proceedings is noted. Thank you, Your Honor, I said quietly, outside. The sun was sharp against the concrete steps. Marla handed me a bottle of water. You held the line. I wasn't trying to win, I said. She nodded. That's why you did. Eric approached as we reached the street. Clara? I turned. I didn't expect all of this, he said. I thought you'd settle. I almost did. Then why didn't you? Because you didn't apologize. He stared at the sidewalk. I'm sorry. No, I said. You're sorry it went this far. That's not the same. Julia stood at the edge of the courtyard, arms folded, unreadable. She waited until Marla stepped away. Is it enough? She asked. It was never about enough. She tilted her head. You don't even look angry. I'm not. You ruined our names. You did that. Julia searched my face. I don't recognize you. I know. You could have called, she added. I did, I said. You told me I'd regret it. She hesitated. Do you know? Not even a little. I met her eyes. I regret trusting you. Everything after that was correction. Judge Patel's voice echoed back in memory. Measured, final, liable, damages, restraint. Will you rebuild it? Julia asked. The company, she nodded. I already started. Her mouth tightened. Without me, I didn't answer. She looked away first. I hope it was worth it. It was, I said, because I didn't need to win by breaking you. I just needed the truth recorded. Julia said nothing. She turned. She walked away. I didn't watch her go. Eric left a note on the counter. No apology, just the new forwarding address and a reminder to cancel the internet. I didn't read it twice. Camille met me at the cafe 2 blocks from the courthouse, where no one wore suits and no one asked questions. You look lighter, she said, sliding into the booth. I feel that way. Where's Eric? Gone. Julia? Out of state. She stirred her coffee. You miss them? No. Not even a little. I shook my head. She looked at me for a while. Remember when you used to flinch if someone raised their voice? Yes, you don't flinch anymore. I don't wait anymore. Either. 3 days later, I drove west. No itinerary, no company, no inbox. The ocean was louder than I remembered. My room was small, tucked behind a bookstore. No TV, no clock. I left my phone off. The owner asked where I was from. Nowhere important, I said. She handed me the key. We like quiet here. Perfect. I walked the beach each morning before the fog burned off. No one recognized me. No one cared. At lunch, I ordered the same thing. Clam chowder, half sandwich, mint tea. The waitress learned my rhythm but never asked my name. I called Camille once. Still alive? She asked. Barely, I teased. There's no espresso within 10 miles. She laughed. You sound good. I am. You sound like someone who deleted old files and didn't save copies. I did. That evening, I sat on the back porch of the inn and watched the sun vanish without a sound. No one sat beside me. I didn't mind. You want to put your name on the masthead? The printer asked. Yes. No partners? No partners. He nodded, adjusted the proof. It's clean. So is a slate I used to write Julia's bios, I said, clicking through the new website draft. Now I don't need anyone to speak for me. The designer glanced over. Want your title under the logo? No, I said. The work speaks. The office was a reclaimed library. Light-soaked, quiet, no glass walls, no noise. I painted one room green. I filled the shelves with books no one told me were useful. Thank you for seeing me, the candidate said. Nervous, mid-30s, too apologetic. I read your application. I told her. You were passed over 3 times for a director role. She blinked. You saw that? I saw that you handled a crisis in 12 hours with no credit. Her voice shook. They said I don't have edge. Neither do I said. Want to build something? Lunch was quiet. A new hire stirred her soup to lung. You okay? I asked. She glanced up. Still waiting for the other shoe. There isn't one. She tried to smile. I'm not used to not looking over my shoulder. I nodded. That's why I hired you. Camille stopped by with coffee. This feels different, she said, spinning in the chair. Feels like you. It is. No advisors, no predators. She laughed. You going to trademark that? Maybe. One of the interns knocked on my door. I made a mistake in the vendor intake, she said. Do you want me to start over? I looked at the form. No. Just correct it? You're not mad? Why would I be? She hesitated because Julia would have thrown it out. I'm not Julia, she smiled. Yeah, you're not. That evening, I closed my laptop and stood in the doorway of the studio space. 3 desks still had lights on, soft conversation. Someone laughed, not one person flinched. Later, I walked home. A man passing by looked at me too long. I didn't speed up, I didn't shrink, I didn't look back, I didn't need to.